Deep in the jungle, hunters catch monkeys using a remarkably simple tool. They stake a hollowed-out coconut to the ground and place a handful of rice inside. The hole is carved just wide enough for an open, flat hand to slide through. The monkey reaches in and grabs the rice, but the moment it makes a fist, its hand becomes too wide to pull back through the opening. It yanks and shrieks, totally trapped. Look closely at the trap. There are no locks, there are no chains. The hunter hasn't captured the animal. The animal has captured itself, simply because it refuses to let go of the prize. We do the exact same thing. Behavioral economists call this the sunk cost fallacy. We pour money into failing businesses, stay in toxic relationships, and hold on to plummeting stocks. We confuse the unrecoverable investments of our past with actual future potential. This irrational persistence is a biological glitch hardwired deep into human neural architecture. Mastering the release is a critical survival skill. To understand why we hold on, we have to look at the hardware. In 1979, the psychologist pictured here, Daniel Kahneman, alongside Amos Tversky, documented a phenomenon called loss aversion. This chart visualizes their discovery. Humans do not process gains and losses equally. If you find $100, you feel good. But if you lose $100, the psychological impact is 2.5 times more intense. The internal scale is rigged. Modern neuroimaging shows exactly why. When we lose money or abandon an effort we've committed to, a region of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is the exact same circuitry that processes literal physical pain. Quitting physically hurts. Because of that, your brain runs a separate computation for sunk costs, bypassing rational math entirely to prioritize avoiding that pain. The monkey remained in the trap because it felt the agonizing spike of loss aversion. Our biology dictates that holding on to a devastating loss feels physically safer than simply letting go. Scale this biological glitch up from a coconut shell to global finance, and you see massive wealth destruction. It explains why a rational investor will stare at a portfolio down 90% and refuse to click sell. Look at Meta between late 2021 and 2022. The company lost roughly $800 billion in market value. Investors who bought at the peak lost 77% of their capital, yet millions of people held their positions. This text highlights a behavior known as the disposition effect. Investors hold on to losing assets to delay the pain of realizing a loss, while impatiently selling off winning stocks way too early just to secure a quick emotional gain. It gets worse. As you can see higher up on this page, the trap is compounded by anchoring. We fixate on the original price we paid. Because we feel ownership of the stock, we inflate its value in our minds. Instead of analyzing objective market data, we desperately seek out internet rumors that justify our original mistake to ourselves. A plummeting corporate portfolio is exactly the same as the monkey trap. The brain weaponizes past losses to justify a doomed future strategy. This cognitive glitch goes far beyond money. This text defines the escalation of commitment, where decision-makers blindly stick to failing courses of action regardless of the real-world consequences. Imagine a driver getting cut off on a public highway. Instead of letting it go, the driver accelerates. They weave through traffic at high speeds, risking their life and the lives of others, all to force the offending driver to apologize. This behavior is fueled by cognitive dissonance, the mental friction that occurs when our current actions expose our past decisions as failures. Admitting the chase is reckless requires the driver to admit their initial reaction was a mistake. To avoid that psychological pain, the brain doubles down, convincing the driver that the escalation is a necessary pursuit of justice. This document explains how people irrationally keep investing resources to justify their sunk costs. We throw good money, or our own physical safety, after bad, entirely to shield ourselves from the realization that we were wrong. When commitment bias mutates into an ego war, avoiding cognitive dissonance becomes the brain's highest priority. It will choose to risk physical destruction over admitting it was wrong. The ego would rather crash and burn than surrender. If this is a hardwired glitch, how do we actively hack our own hardware and force our fist open? First, you have to ignore the past. The money spent, the years invested, the energy drained, those are unrecoverable. They do not exist anymore. Rational decisions can only be made based strictly on ongoing costs. Second, you apply the stranger test. Look at this diagram. Instead of evaluating an asset you already own, imagine you have cash today. Ask yourself, at current market prices, would you buy this specific asset right now? If the answer is no, you are only holding it because of the sunk cost. Apply this to human relationships. If you were meeting your current partner for the very first time today, knowing what you know now, would you choose to date them? If you wouldn't, the only thing keeping you there is the weight of past investments. By deliberately separating objective analytical failure from the emotional psychology of the sunk cost, you dismantle the biological illusion keeping you trapped. Finally, there is the insight of renunciation, a concept ancient cultures called tyaga. Dropping a heavy burden is not a sign of defeat. It is the absolute prerequisite for forward movement. Progress requires ruthless mathematics. You must consciously kill your losing investments so you have the capital and energy to feed your winners. Your road hasn't ended. Your grip has just become too tight. The moment the fist opens, the rice drops and the monkey's hand slides freely out of the trap. The next time you are terrified of losing or giving up, realize that letting go is the ultimate survival skill. If you're ready to open your fist, type "release" in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to MindUnlock to keep rebooting your brain.